You can see the sign behind me. It says, "This is my happy place." It's funny. We live a life by design. My husband and I have been doing this together for a long time. As I said, I've been selling real estate for about 34 years. But I started answering my brother's real estate office phones when I was 14. He is 14 years older than me, and he came back from the Air Force and opened up a brokerage. So he was 28 years old and I was 14, and I would walk to his office from school. And my job was to answer the phones in the afternoon. So I'm going to talk more about that on our next call next month about CRM controller, because that ties right into that. But John and I built a life by design. We hustled and hustled in our early years of real estate. We, as Grant Cardone says, played broke. Okay. I'm not a huge fan of Grant Cardone, but he does say a couple of things in his books. And one of them was that you have to play broke for a while as you're a new startup entrepreneur. And you guys, if you're thinking of yourselves as a real estate agent, I want you to change that mindset immediately. You are not real estate agents. You are real estate entrepreneurs. Okay. You're independent contractors for the most part, except for the people that are operations people. They're on more salaried positions. Those of you that are in sales, though, which I'm speaking to you really heavily today, is you're entrepreneurs and you have to think like that. So we set ourselves up by design that as we got older, and I will be 60 this year, we would be able to have signs like this behind me that I really truly am in my happy place. Okay. I love coaching and in general, talking to people like you. I love being able to be in 2 locations and do it. So you got to create your own happy place. And we're going to talk about this in our talk today. So I have an hour with you. Okay. So we'll open it up to questions towards the end. But I want to go through the series of process of mental toughness and mindset, because it is a really interesting place to learn about why I'm here talking about this. I did 9 years of Iyengar yoga studies. And if you've done any yoga or you know anything about yoga, Iyengar yoga was created by BKS Iyengar. We're called the furniture yogis because we use like every piece of furniture in the world to roll over and to hang over and to do all that kind of stuff, right? But we also are the ones that fix those that get hurt in and places like that. How do we fix them? Because we believe that your body and your mind have more to play in the competitive nature of what you want to do. Okay. So a lot of yoga is competitive, right? We're in a competitive business. You have to learn to fix yourself when you're in a competitive business. So I bring my yoga into my coaching a little bit on the outskirts because it stopped my type A personality from going a little run amok. Okay. So hopefully I can help some of you today in that area and we can go from there. So let's get started. Mindset mastery. 4 top secrets of a powerful mindset. There are 4 areas that as I started putting this in an order that I realized that you really have to address when you're talking about mindset. So if you want to take notes, if you want to screenshot anything, go for it, do your thing. There's gratitude, there's environment, there's the decision you have to make, and then there's the action you have to take. Okay. So this isn't just a passive woo-woo conversation. Okay. This is about actually taking action. So my mindset talks are going to be a little bit more to the aggressive maybe style. Okay. Because that's who I am. But the very first place I always start is gratitude. All right. Gratitude is a very interesting thing. And the first thing that I will tell you is that I will talk about gratitude a lot because I've been doing it for so long. Those of you that have been around for a while, has anybody, raise of hands, heard of doing 10-10s? Anybody ever heard of 10-10s? Okay, good. I'm going to teach you guys something new today. 10-10s are something I learned over 20 years ago, and I've been doing it ever since. And there are 10 things you're grateful for and 10 things you want to attract every morning. It's part of my morning routine. Now, I randomly do it. I am not a strict, like, I got to use this book and I got to finish the book out before I start another book. I don't do it that way. I will write my 10-10 down anywhere. I will do just like this, a notebook, 10 things you're grateful for, 10 things you want to attract. I will be that simple. Okay. So this is not rocket science. My gratitude journal. Okay. So as you can see, it's got a pen in it. This is the one that I'm using right now. All right. So it is something that I want to leave with you today. If you do nothing else but start a morning of 10-10s, you will see all kinds of crazy things happen over years. I have my journals from 15, 20 years ago. And I go back now and I look at them and I go, holy cow, that's amazing. Because the things that I wrote in there that I wanted to attract, the things that I was grateful for, they all occurred. Okay. It took time and I repeated them over and over again, but that's how it works. Okay. And then I had to go into action and make it happen. So let's talk more about gratitude. I'm going to tell some stories on gratitude. With gratitude, it is impossible, absolutely impossible to be depressed when you're grateful. Okay. So they have studies about it. The University of California, Davis and University of Miami did 3 study groups. Group 1 wrote down positive things that they were grateful for that occurred during the week. Group 2 wrote daily irritations and things that displeased them, which I could never be in group 2. That would just be like, oh my God, Debbie Downer, right? Group 3 just wrote about the events that affected them with no emphasis on positive or negative. So they were the neutral group. After 10 weeks, group 1 were more optimistic and felt better about their lives. They also exercised more, had fewer medical complaints than groups 2 and 3. Now, call it whatever you will. All I know is that's the power of being grateful. Okay. It's reprogramming your brain to not be negative. Now, the problem is that there was another study here that they did in Tokyo, University of Tokyo, that you had to reinforce the positive thoughts with writing it down. Okay. So they compared different ways of writing it down. They compared paper and pen. They compared tablets. They compared smartphones. What they realized was that paper and pen, old school paper and pen, hence the reason I showed you my different versions, actually was more useful than electronic documents because it contained one-of-a-kind information for a stronger memory recall. Okay. Your brain, and if you guys have ever, if you think into a time when you've had a moment that you thought something and then the thought was fleeting, okay, because you didn't reinforce the thought. So more brain activity associated with language and imaginary visualization, where when you're writing, your brain is having to write something and it's looking at it at the same time, as well as visualizing an image around that writing, okay? Your pen and paper contain richer spatial details and they're easier to recall to your mind's eye. Now, have any of you heard RA, reticular activation? Thumbs up, reticular activation. Oh, I'm so happy. I got a couple of you, but I'm going to teach you guys something new. Reticular activation happens. You all, I know, have had this happen. Who has wanted a new car lately? I want a Bronco that's convertible, right? That's like my new car I want. And everybody goes, you don't want a Ford. Yeah, I want the Bronco with the convertible, okay? When you start thinking about it, and then I tell my husband, I really want a Bronco, right? I'm saying it verbally. What happens with reticular activation? You automatically start seeing them everywhere, right? Allison's, yep. So you see them everywhere. You see those cars everywhere. And that's weird. That's reticular activation. Okay. Now you're going to start doing it and you're going to go, oh my God, that's true. Okay. So what's really great about this though, is that actually works. Okay. You're going to recall in your mind's eye those positive things that you're trying to have created. You're going to be grateful for all the positive things that happened to you today. And they're going to come back to your mind and you're going to smile about them. Okay. Our brains are way negative. We think more negative thoughts every single day than we do positive thoughts. So it's why we have to constantly keep giving ourselves feed. We have to feed ourselves more info. It's very interesting because we're seeing this happen right now. how much negative atmosphere is coming at us, right? Whether it's the real estate in our settlement and how are we going to handle this and changes to how we do contracts and or the politics that are going on in the country. It's just crazy, right? Consumer debt, inflation. Holy cow. Guess what? If you constantly look to the positive every day, find the things, 10 things. And I will tell you, there are 10 things that are super hard to find sometimes. There are some days when I write in my daily journal, my gratitudes, I'm thankful for this cup of coffee. Okay. Because sometimes it's just hard to find things you're grateful for until you get in the role of things. Then you will start seeing more positive things that you'll write down. You'll talk about how you were grateful for having dinner with friends last night, how you were grateful for waking up this morning. You guys, I am a perfectly healthy 59-year-old. I'll be 60 in September. And last year, I have 0 blood pressure issues. I have 0 cholesterol issues. I ride my Peloton 3 to 4 times a week. I do a raw foods cleanse every quarter. I'm healthy. And last year, I was diagnosed with an aortic aneurysm. I had no idea I had it. It was an unintended find in a physical I was having done. Now, I had open heart surgery in August. Okay. They cut out my aorta and they replaced it with a graft. And guess what? I'm riding my Peloton 4 times a week again. I'm back in the gym. I relate that. And I think I'm grateful for standing here today in front of you. Okay? Because what I had, they would have never diagnosed. I would have just dropped dead. So there are things everywhere in your life that you have to dig up every day and find the positive because you got to combat that negative. Now, let's talk about how we get that to happen every day. Your environment is super important. Okay. And this part gets a little tough. I want you to think about your environment as I'm talking about this to you. And first off, there's Tom. So first thing I want to leave you with here is go watch Tom's podcast or listen to his podcast. It's episode 45 of the podcast episode, Why Gratitude is the Secret Ingredient to Happiness. There are 3 disciplines of gratitude. Get a partner that you can tell what you're grateful for every day. So if you have somebody that you feel good to open up to, that you can tell somebody your gratitudes, a friend, maybe you just get on the phone and every morning you go, hey, 5 minutes. I'm grateful for my coffee. I'm grateful for the day. I'm grateful for you today. I'm grateful for my business. I'm grateful for all my clients. Then please do that. Okay. Write your 10 tens every day. 10 things you're grateful for, 10 things you want to attract. People go, what do you write when you say you want to attract something? I write things like, I want to attract financial freedom. I want to attract big thinkers and big doers in my life. Look at where I'm standing right now. I'm standing in front of a whole lot of big thinkers and big doers, because if you weren't, you wouldn't be on this team. I want to attract great buyers and great sellers who do everything I ask them to do. Okay. I want to attract great people around me, more love, more kindness. Okay. And then do a 90-day challenge around it. Challenge yourselves to do your 10 tens every single day for 90 days. You will start to see the process happen in a positive way. So I'm going to leave you with that part today. And the importance of accumulation effect. Mark Victor Hansen says, you control your future and your destiny. What you think about comes about. By recording your dreams, goals, and gratitudes on paper, you set in motion the process of becoming the person you most want to be. Now, by the way, you guys, this is an interesting way to think about this, is that you do have to become somebody that you may not be right now. Okay. You have to consciously decide. So the second area is environment. Now, here's what you can control: your emotions, your judgments, your creativity, your attitude, your perspective, your desires, your decisions, and your determination. Okay. Now, it's interesting when people start feeling a little negative, they feel like they're out of control. You can't control anything that's going on around you. You can't control your buyers, can't control your sellers, can't control deals, can't control the market. and you start to go into that place, okay? What I know is that you absolutely can control, all right? You absolutely can control what is happening around you. And here's how you do it. So the first thing you do is we tend to blame our environment when things go poorly. You guys, we've all done it. I've been guilty. You lose a job, it's because the economy sucks. You lose a deal, it's because the interest rates are too high. If you lose the game, it's because the officiating was bad. If you're late to work, it's because the traffic was insane. That's something that we have to flip the script on in our life. When we win, however, we ignore the environment completely, okay? We think, oh, we landed that new job, we got that new buyer, we did that new seller, we got that new listing contract. It's because we are more talented and likable, okay? We win the game, it's because we played better. If you're early to a meeting, it's because you're organized and you're prompt. So it's important to remember that your environment drives your good behaviors as well as your bad ones. So why were you late to work, or why were you early to work and on time? Your environment that morning caused you to be one or the other. Okay, you got up late, you were mad dash in the shower getting dressed, all of a sudden you're in the rush hour traffic, you're going to be late. And it all started with the fact that you didn't get out of bed when that alarm went off first. You slept for another 40 minutes. Okay, you created that environment in the incorrect way. So this morning, as I said, it's 6:45 a.m. my time. Okay, I'm on the Pacific Coast, right? So I had to be up 5 o'clock this morning, get in the shower, dressed and ready to go. I told Coach Emily, I said, hey, I'm going to be in baseball cap. God, I want to do my hair, right? But I decided last night, I want to do that for you. I want to show up for you, okay? I set up my environment to make sure that I did that. My talk was completed already. My slide deck was completed. I got up at 5:15. I was in the shower, hair done, boom. I'm here to show up for you, okay? So my day is going to go just like that. I set up my environment for it. It's important to remember that it changes your behaviors. So people who stick to good habits with ease are often fitting from the environment, right? You might see people that struggle to succeed. They're fighting an uphill battle all the time against their environment. Okay. It sometimes shows up as it looks like a lack of willpower. It's not. It's just a result of poor environment. So it's a game that you have to guarantee the results to, and it's over time. So when we talk about the things that you can control, your emotions, your judgments, your creativity, your attitude, your desires, your decisions, your determination, you're focusing exclusively on what is in your power, and you're magnifying and enhancing that power, okay? Any ounce of energy directed at things that we cannot control is a wasted amount of energy. So how does this actually deal or apply to what we do every day? Let's see. So the first thing is friction or non-friction points. Oh, by the way, I titled this slide, The Luck of Your Environment. How many of you know what luck stands for as an acronym? Raise your hand. Oh gosh, I hope you guys are writing all this down. LUCK, labor under correct knowledge. Okay, that's luck. Through my life and having moments of success and moments of failure, people always recognize the success. They rarely see the failure, right? And you'll have people say to you, oh, you're so lucky, Yvonne. You're so lucky, Julie. You're so lucky, Casey. And then you think to yourself, they have no idea how I got here, okay? It was labor under correct knowledge is what it was. So you have to reduce the points of friction because you have now correct knowledge. You have to labor under the correct knowledge I'm giving you today, okay? So you have to reduce those points of friction and increase the points of non-friction. Your desk, your car, your computer home screen, your CRM, your social circles, and your family. Now this part gets really, really tricky, okay? Because what we're deciding to do is we're deciding to make our desk clean and not have it look like your neighbors next door to you, an absolute disaster of chaos. Okay. You're deciding that your car is going to be clean. You're deciding, oh my gosh, the home screen. You guys, I coach a lot of people, very high performers. And it always intrigues me because I always go, share your screen with me. I want to see your calendar. I want to see your CRM. Open up Follow Up Boss, and I want to see it. And the first thing I see when they share their screen with me is the home screen. And the home screen, it's what are all of those PDFs and folders all over the screen? There's no organization to it. Is anybody relating to that's sitting in your seat right now? Do any of you have a home screen that looks like that? You guys clean it up, organize it, put it in folders in Dropbox and Google Drive. Get it off your home screen. Your home screen should be a picture of what you're trying to attract. You should see it, not a bunch of folders. That's chaos, right? When I say a picture of what you're trying to attract, so my husband has always wanted a ski nautique boat, okay? Like for 30 years. For the last 20 years, he had a picture, his screensaver picture was the ski nautique boat he wanted. 6 years ago, we got the exact boat, but the updated version, okay? It took that long, but he was constantly looking at it on his home screen. So again, what are we doing? We're creating our environment and we're removing friction. We're putting non-friction areas in. We're saying, what's my fastest, easiest pathway to get to excellent mindset? That's how you do it. So now let's talk about the tough one. The tough one is your social circles and your family. Okay. This is really a tough one because unfortunately, you've all heard the saying, we can pick our friends, we can't pick our family. And many people in our life don't have the same positive mindset that we might have. So they become the Debbie Downers in our world. They become the people that poo-poo what you're doing. You're struggling or you're trying to make it happen in real estate. And they're like, oh, you're just that realtor that's trying to make a commission. You're just that person that's just in it for whatever. You just want to be around me because you think I'm going to do a deal with you. In reality, they're the Debbie Downer. They're not supporting you in your dream. Okay. We need people around us who will support us in our dream. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and get rid of your family and your friends. Okay. But you have to control the emotions around it and the time you spend in those circles. There might be somebody in your peer group. Okay. There might be somebody in your friendships that like, you just know who they are. There's never a positive word out of their mouth. Everything is a struggle for them. And you love them. You know that they're a good person, but they just aren't positive. And so I would say to you, do your best to help them, but don't be a fixer. You will spend too much energy trying to fix them and get them to change. Everyone has to change in their own internal way. Okay. So do your best, but just limit the amount of time you spend with them. That's how you do it with the people and family and friends and peers around you. You limit that amount of time. Remember what I said when I put it on my 10-10s? What do I want to attract? I want to attract big doers and big thinkers. When I write that every single day, I guarantee you it will happen. It's happened to me. I attracted more thinkers and big doers in my life. I'm in circles now that I never thought I would ever be in. But it does happen. So you just have to choose how you're going to work it. Okay. Now, what's interesting is that there is some hacks that you can do. And the hacks are they're not hard. Okay. The hacks are prime your environment to make decisions and actions easier. Okay. Eliminate any negative factors that are possible. Make your environment distraction free. Eliminate emotion and drama and replace it with solutions. You guys, this one is probably the most important thing we can do in our business. We cannot be the emotional drama queen in a transaction. We cannot buy into our clients' emotional drama. Okay. We have to be the problem solver. We get paid to solve problems. We are the calm person. There is no emotion here. We're not buying, we're not selling. And by the way, we're not tied to the outcome. If you're working a buyer or a seller and something happens in the deal, you do everything in your power in regards to the business to solve the problem and keep them together. But at the end of the day, if you can't, do not be tied to the outcome. Let the deal fall apart. Go sell that buyer something else. Go get another buyer for that seller. Okay? Be detached from the outcome. We lived by 3 rules in our world of real estate. Show up on time, tell the truth, and don't be tied to the outcome. And by the way, the outcome is always the commission check. Okay? So 3 rules. Show up on time. Don't tell the truth. Super important. And don't be tied to the outcome. Incorporate morning affirmations. So if you do follow me on Instagram, I reposted last night something from Coach Aaron Chuha, one of our great coaches. And you can just go to my story and see it. And it is, I said, thanks for the reminder of the affirmations. So affirmations, you guys, and some of you might think, oh God, here she goes. She's going into the whole woo-woo thing, right? I got to chant affirmations every morning. No, you don't. Okay. However, you should include them in your daily activities. You need to start your day right. Today is full of possibilities. And I'm reading these right off of Aaron's Instagram. I'm capable and resilient. I'm worthy of success and happiness. I can handle whatever comes my way. I would add, buyers and sellers love to work with me. I attract the best buyers and sellers. I am a top salesperson. People want to be around me. Okay. When you start talking like that, what did I say earlier? You're reprogramming the negativity your brain automatically wants to do every day. You have to feed it something different. So it's super important that you do your affirmations any way you'd like. Don't underestimate a solid morning routine. Read powerful books and listen to powerful podcasts. By the way, those two interchange. That's what I do every day. I get up and I listen to like maybe 5-10 minutes of a podcast that's really good. I read a chapter in a powerful book. Okay, you can see I've got a ton of books behind me. I've got another bookshelf over here. I love to just pick up a book. It doesn't matter which one, every day, and just read 2, 3, 4 pages, a chapter, whatever it takes. Review your goals and plans daily. Upgrade your dress habits. Hey, you guys, I know that our world has gotten a little bit casual, right? After COVID, everybody went to hell in a handbasket. I would say we got a lot of these people at conferences. I do the fact that you can wear a jacket, a t-shirt, some jeans, and a pair of tennis shoes, right? And I get out of my high heels now. So that's really good. However, dress to your people. Who are you trying to work with? Okay. What do they dress like? You go over to Philadelphia, you're going to see Tom Toole. He's in a suit and tie every day. And he requires his team to be in a suit and tie every day because those are who he's working with in the city. Okay. I live in Palm Desert, California, half the year, and North Idaho, the other half of the year. We're pretty casual. And especially when it's 100 degrees outside in Palm Desert, I'm going to wear a nice sundress, not too showy. Okay, ladies, keep it all in. And I'm going to put some nice sandal shoes on. When I'm in Idaho, it's hiking boots, pair of jeans, nice down jacket, turtleneck, whatever the weather applies, right? So dress to who you are working with. If you're working with millennials or the younger crowd and they're just super casual, dress to what they are. If you're dealing with baby boomers and they're my age, 60 and older, they're going to want to see a little bit more professional. You might want to have this little black jacket hanging in your office over a chair, ready to throw on when you're going to go meet somebody. Okay. So there's lots of little hacks like that that you can do. But why am I talking about your dress? Because how you feel in your clothes determines how you think and how your mindset is, your attitude is. You got to feel good in your skin so that it comes out. Okay. It's super important that you do that. Now we get to the decision-making process. Let's make some decisions. The very first thing you have to make a decision on. I love this quote. Carol Lawson, the head coach of Duke University women's basketball team, you probably have all heard it at one point, maybe when she said it. It will never get easier. You become someone that handles hard better. You guys, decide to be tough. Because I will guarantee you, after as long as I've been in this industry and as many changes as this industry has had and as many markets I have gone in up and down, you just decide to be tough. You have to have thicker skin or you will not make it in this industry. Okay? Because it is never going to get easier. In fact, right now, our industry, I would argue, is getting harder. Okay? So I just want to tell you right out front, I'm not touchy-feely at this point. You've got to decide. All right. Now, how do you decide? Your decision number one is you have to reset and release. What does that mean? It means you reset your mind. Like I said, environment, start your gratitudes, reset your environment, and release these 3 cancers of growth. Comparing yourself to others, criticizing others or yourself, and complaining about what's really happening out in the world or what's happening to you. You think it's happening to you. Okay. You've got to get rid of these 3 cancers, the 3 seeds. It means you have to surrender to be committed to the change of your behaviors. It's really hard because there are a lot of people, oh, you just have to change your behavior. You just have to change. Yeah, easier said than done. It's not that easy to change a behavior. In fact, what's interesting about behaviors is we know everyone goes, oh, it takes 21 days to start a new habit. No, it doesn't. It takes 127 days to start a new habit. Okay. Way longer than you think. So when you start thinking about changing that behavior, and that habit, you better be in it for the long haul. You better be committed to yourself and your future, because that's what it's all about, setting yourself up for your future. Okay. Now, one second. Where am I? Lost my screen. Okay. Decision number 2 is the power of will. Notice I didn't say willpower. It's the power of will. Will is internal. It's the power inside of us. See, I can talk all I want today. Your team leads can ask you to do all these things. They can cheerlead you on. They can be there for support. They can give you all the leads in the world. But if you don't decide to use your internal power, that will that's inside you, then we have a problem, Houston, because it can never be affected by the outside world. It's completely in your control. It's surrendering, not strength. Okay. Now you have to think about that one for a minute. It's surrendering, not strength. And when we try and power through it and we try and strong arm this whole thing, it never comes out the way we want it. So when you start saying, hey, listen, I'm just going to surrender to this stuff. It's what I did. It's what I did when I first was introduced to this. When Tom first introduced me to all of this and I started being around people that thought differently than what I had grown up thinking, I had to surrender to it, because when I fought it, the negative happened. The opposite happened. The things that I was trying to recreate didn't come to me. So I said, all right, I'll play. I'll surrender. So what does that mean, though? It means that you have to just say, I'm just going to do this with a little blind faith and see how it turns out for me. But I'll commit to 90 days, 120 days. I'll do it for a little while and see how it works out for me. Because it doesn't matter if you are in a good market or a bad market. It doesn't matter if you have a huge obstacle in front of you or around the corner. What matters is, how are you thinking about what you're doing right now in the moment? Right now in the moment. We all spend a good portion of our lives thinking about the past and the future. Like right now, some of you might be sitting in your chair and maybe you've got your phone and you're looking at your phone and you're texting somebody, or you're looking at your emails. Not that I can see any of you doing that, but maybe you are. Okay. You're thinking about the past and you're thinking about the future. You're not really in the present moment. Okay. You're not surrendering to this call and this Zoom meeting at this moment. When you do, you will absorb more and you'll be able to then take that knowledge you have, that ammunition, and you'll be able to go use it in your best interest. Okay. And you can control it. All right. So that is super important when we're placed into a situation that seems impossible to fix. You have to be able to pull from that internal willpower, that internal will that you know exactly what to do. You can decide to view it as a learning experience, or you can decide to learn it, think of it as a negative. I view it as a learning experience and or a chance to help others. Okay. When I talk about helping past clients, sphere, leads coming in, people that are raising their hands to see that, I never think of them as leads. We call them that. I never think of them as that though. I think about, how can I help this person get what they want? That's internal willpower. I'm not thinking about the outcome, the closing, or the future. I'm going, what do they need right now? What do they need to hear right now? What do all of you need to hear right now? That's the important part of this. Okay. So now, what happens after you make that decision number 2? Decision number 3. Understand the power of your negative thoughts. You have to know what this is. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Trevor Moab. Unfortunately, he passed away about 2 years ago at a very young age. He wrote 2 books, though, that I highly recommend reading. And if you like sports, he was the sports guy, okay? It Takes What It Takes and Getting Neutral. Those are the 2 books. His background is intriguing. Ed Milet has done an interview of him. You can find that on Ed Milet's podcast. And also, if you watch Dan Patrick in the morning, Dan Patrick interviewed him and had him in the studio doing some stuff with the sports guys. He said negative thinking is a multiple of 4 to 7 times more powerful than positive thinking. That's why we have to work so hard to get our positive mindset going, okay? Because it's an automatic 4 to 7 times more powerful than the negative. If you say things out loud, though, if you voice a negative thought, it makes it 10 times more powerful than if you just thought it. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about this. This is a fun story and it gave me a little bit of the chills, okay, when Trevor talked about this story. Trevor talks about the story of Bill Buckner. Now, if any of you are baseball fans, Bill Buckner played for the Red Sox, and he lost the 1986 World Series for his team. He literally lost it for his team. Okay. It was the last inning and everybody was packing up and going home because there was a total assurance that they were going to win because they had it locked up. They were so far ahead. They were like 2 or 3 runs ahead. It was done. Buckner, though, let a slow ground ball go through his legs and he lost the sure game. That was the cap of his career. Can you imagine like losing 5 transactions in your real estate that are pending right now and having it be like the week before your retirement? Okay. That's that feeling. It was awful. But the interesting part that gave me the chills and made kind of the hair on the back of my neck stand up was that Trevor found out that a few years ago, they found an old recorded interview with Buckner where he says, prior to the 1986 World Series, he's talking to the interviewer, he said, the dream would be to win the World Series. My real nightmare, though, would be to let the game-winning run score on a ground ball through my legs to cost us the World Series. It makes me get chills already. He said his negative thoughts out loud. Okay. So you guys, you're 10xing it. Trevor said he's a big believer in the power of language. And here's what they know. Saying it didn't make it happen, but it increased the probability by 40 to 70 times that it would happen. Bill Buckner had a fear that he would let the ground ball roll through his legs. He said it out loud and he manifested it to happen. That is the power of negative thinking, you guys. Creepy, isn't it? So if you believe that and you understand it and you read about it, you will absolutely learn how to keep that from happening yourself. Okay. Now, last thing we have on the list of things that you have to do, right, is action. You got to take action. Always stay in forward momentum. John Maxwell, one of the greatest leadership leaders of our time, has written the most number of books on leadership. If you haven't read any of them, please do. 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership is one of the best books out there. He said, learn to say no to the good so you can say yes to the great. Okay, that's another way of saying when one door closes, another one opens, right? But you have to know in your actions what you're trying to do. Which ones do you say no to that you know that the next one will be great? The next thing that happens to you will be fantastic. So this is important when you start putting into effect the triggers of what you have to do to make all this happen, okay? Now, when you take action, though, there is some things that happen to you beforehand, okay? So Tom uses this graph, and I said, oh, I got to throw this in. So this is your performance, and this is the time. Right now, some of you might be in a plateau of complacency, okay? That means that you've been doing everything you're supposed to do. You're making your calls, you're doing your open houses, you're texting your people, you're picking up the phone when the leads call, but it's just not happening for you. You're just not getting the connections to happen. And then all of a sudden you end up going, oh my God, it's been 90 days and I haven't had a paycheck. It's been 60 days. I haven't been 30 days. I haven't had a paycheck. You go off the cliff of, oh my gosh, where's Tom Ferry? Okay. So that's what we say in the Tom Ferry ecosystem instead of saying the other. And it takes you right down into that valley of despair. If it's not you right now, I guarantee you, you know somebody in this place. Okay. Because they're all in our industry. In our industry, this is it, right? You go down in that valley of despair, and then it takes you forever and the total amount of pain to get back up, the ascent of pain to get back up to that mountaintop of relief. And then what happens when you get to the mountaintop of relief? Oh, guess what? You go back into the plateau of complacency, and then guess what? You hit that cliff again. This is the extreme document that shows the real estate roller coaster. Now, I would add into this, that time frame, that dip of valley of despair to go up the ascent from the cliff to the dotted line of the ascent of pain is 90 days. Okay. We're going to talk more about that on next month's call with the CRM controller. It's a 90-day cycle of this mess if you are not in control of your actions every day. Okay. So you have to keep in mind that action and failure are two sides of the same coin. Absolutely two sides of the same coin. And when you think of it that way, you have to think of it as, hey, I'm going to fail sometimes. I'm not going to get that deal. I'm not going to get that buyer to sign my buyer broker agreement or to pay me my commission now that NAR has completely screwed things up. Just my own opinion. And you're going to fail. However, the other side of the coin is success. And guess what? Some of the most powerful people in the world call that side of the coin failure. They call it failing forward. Okay, you've all heard it. It's failing forward. So when you do fail, and you will, ask yourself what went wrong and what could you do to improve for the next time? Because failure is always a biggest breakthrough. All right. It is your biggest breakthrough. If you're not analyzing what you did wrong and how it failed, you're not getting any better. You're going to repeat the same thing over again. And mentally, we can't do that. We have to look at what we're doing. So if you know something happened this week that you're like, oh, it just kicked your butt, okay? Go back and look at that situation. Take 20 minutes today. Think about it. Write down, what could you have done differently? How could that situation have turned out different? Or how could you have responded to it different and not kept it all in for a week? Okay, because keeping that inside is actually causing you from getting even better and doing the next best thing. So we have to work on that all the time. Now, there are some things that we can do. We can look at who we are. And I want you guys to look at this and take a minute and really think about these things. I'm going to walk you through. Starting up down in the lower corner. Number C, poor psychology and aligned action. Let me explain what that person is. You're a negative Nancy, but you do all the work. You make the calls, you do all the work, you do the open houses, but you just have a shitty attitude. Okay, that's number C. Number D is poor psychology, unaligned action. This is the worst. And if you know anybody in this spot, hopefully it's none of you sitting in your seats, okay? But if this is you, or if this is somebody you know, run, okay? Just run. Get away from them. This is the person that you want to distance yourself from. Poor psychology, unaligned action. This is somebody who has a crappy attitude. Everything is negative to them. They dwell on everything that's not in the positive world. And their actions are totally unaligned with what they say they want, okay? They do all the opposite things. They know that they want to have 30 deals closed this year, but they won't make one call. They won't do one open house, okay? And then it's always somebody else's fault that they don't have their 30 deals. That's D. Hopefully it's nobody in this group. B, great psychology, unaligned action. Great attitude, always in, team player, ready to go, makes your calls, or doesn't make your calls, but you got a great attitude. You show up on time. You're like, ready, put me in, coach. But your actions are not aligned with that. You don't make your calls. You don't do your open houses. You just can't get into action, okay? Great psychology, aligned action. Which one are you right now? Right now, today, remember, we're staying in the moment because we can change. We can float amongst these sometimes. Which one are you right now? Okay. If you're in great psychology, if you call yourself an A player, aligned action, great psychology, it's going to show up in your world. You are making bank right now. You are putting deals under contract. You cannot lose. Everybody wants to work with you. You're converting every lead that comes into your world. You're saving money and stockpiling cash. Your life is happening. That's A. Okay. I would guess that many of you are probably in the B zone. Okay. This is where I see most of our coaching clients. Great psychology, great attitudes. Okay. But they just can't get their actions aligned with what they need to accomplish their goal. Okay. So where are you? It's a good place to start to see, what do you need to fix? Okay. Do you need to fix your attitude or do you need to fix your actions? Here's your actions that you can start right now. Okay, you guys, if you don't know me, I am the calendar geek, okay? I calendar everything and only things that are absolute commitments. Calendaring only what you're committing to, no options for the mind to decide on. Now, let me talk about the calendar for a minute, okay? So, calendars are interesting to me because I see a lot of them. If you were my coaching client right now and you were on a Zoom call with just you and me, and I said, show me your calendar, screen share and open up your calendar. Most coaching clients, what? You want to see what? You want to see my calendar? Because most of you don't put anything in your calendar. Okay. Do you know what I see when I see calendars? I see 5:30 gym every morning for months and months. Like you just put it in there. You go, I'm going to go to the gym at 5:30 every day. And then I start asking, did you go to the gym this morning? And they go, no. Did you go to the gym yesterday? Oh, no, I didn't make it yesterday. When did you go to the gym last? Oh, I went Friday. Oh, okay. Did you go on last Thursday? No, I only went Friday last week. So you went one day and you have it in your calendar every single day. I make them do this. Just go up there, open that up, edit that commitment and hit the trash button. Just delete it because you're not doing it. Right? I can tell that stirred up a lot of conversation on that one. So you're not doing it. Get rid of it. Okay. What does go in your calendar? Everything that you are committed to. Do you know what I never miss on women's calendars? Do you know what's always in there that they never miss? Their nail appointment, their hair appointment, their wax appointment. It's crazy. I go, but you just told me at the beginning of our call that you have a new listing appointment for tomorrow night. I don't see it on your calendar. And they're like, oh, yeah, I forgot to put that in. Wait, the first time you guys miss a listing appointment or a buyer showing appointment because it wasn't in your calendar, and trust me, it will happen, is the time that you will start using your calendar at a much higher level. Okay. So that's number one action to make your mind not have to decide. Okay. It's just an automatic. You're going to do it. And it's not a wish list. Don't put things in your calendar that you just want as a reminder. Don't use that as a reminder. It's a committed appointment with yourself that you're willing to do. All right. Now, what's the next action item? Focus on only what you need to do right now. Every realtor is exactly the same. It's a habit that I have to help them create all the time. It's a squirrel reaction. You all have heard the squirrel story, right? You're doing something and all of a sudden, it's like you just lost your brain. You just went, somebody just walked past my office. I was right in the middle of doing my calls and I was on a roll. And then one of your partners here said, hey, do you want to go get Mexican food for lunch? Squirrel. Okay. Yes. So you got to stay in the moment. And here's the deal. Again, I use a lot of sports analogies, but you all know who Nick Saban is, former coach of the University of Alabama football team. Now, he would teach his team the process. Okay. He put it this way. Don't think about the winning of the SEC championship. Now, how hard is that? You are a new football player on the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, who is a historic championship team. And you're not supposed to think about your current year's team winning the SEC or the national championship. Okay, that's a hard one. Got to keep your mind in the right place. He said, think about what you need to do in this drill, the drill right now, on this play, in this moment. That's the process. He said, let's think about what we can do today, the task at hand. Focus on what you need to do right now and do it well. Then move on to the next thing. He said, the process is about finishing the task, not squirreling. And whatever you're doing right now, you got to finish it. Okay. If you're working out, finish your workout. Don't take the call. Don't take the lead. You're working out. Okay. Finish your inbox. You got a bunch of emails in there. Clean it out. Don't do 3 or 4 or 5 and then go to your texts or go to an appointment. You have to block that time to say, okay, I'm going to clean up my inbox. You have tasks in your CRM. Hopefully none of you have more than about 20 or 30 tasks due today. If any of you have, and this, I'm leaning into my CRM controller part right now that I'm giving you a little heads up of what's coming next month. If any of you have 100, 200, 300 tasks in your CRM, I would suggest that all of you anchor yourself, put a ball and chain around your desk so you can't leave your desk until you finish cleaning up all those tasks. Because you need to be in the moment. There's money there and you're drifting away too often and you're not completing the task. Don't worry about what will happen later or what has already happened. You can't control what happened previous and what's going to happen in the future. You can control what you're doing right now. Mental toughness, mindset. Okay. Now, feed your brain with great data. So when I talk about great data and great information, I talk about what are you feeding your brain every day, right? What exactly are you telling yourself every day? I already talked about 10-10s and grateful. That's a mandatory thing in the morning. If you haven't read this book, Limitless, Jim Quick, Upgrade Your Brain, Learn Anything Faster and Unlock Your Exceptional Life, highly recommend it. He talks about overcoming your limiting beliefs around things, how to hack your brain, basically. And his story is really interesting. When he was a little kid, he fell and hit his head, and they didn't think that he would be right after that. And he had to teach himself and relearn everything. And he ended up going and becoming a specialist in the brain. All right. So I highly recommend that book. You will also see things like Buy Back Your Time, Dan Martell, Get Unstuck, Reclaim Your Freedom, and Build Your Empire. This has some really great tips on time management and how you should be handling people and responding to things. There are so many great books and what you can do. However, I have a list of those that I'm going to show you in a minute. Also podcasts. Feed your brain good data. Remember, your negativity your brain automatically does 4 to 7 times stronger than your positive brain. And you have to feed it positive so you can reprogram that. Now, there are 2 things that are going to define you after this talk today. Your patience when you have nothing, and your attitude when you have everything. So right now, if you're in a place where right now you are not making the money you want, you are not closing the number of deals you want, your patience is a mandatory requirement. And it takes willpower, internal power, calmness, not buying into the drama or the emotions in yourself. It takes being patient, sticking to focus on everything you do every day, and doing that 90-day cycle of getting out of that valley of despair. Okay? But, I shouldn't say but, that negates everything I just said. However, we're going to change our term but to however, and your attitude when you have everything. So we all see it in our industry. We see people who are rolling, man, they are doing really well. We saw five years or so of it. Some of those people right now who had attitudes that were a little bit more egotistical than they should have been when they had everything might be needing some patience right now when they have nothing, because they took credit for a great market when it really wasn't their habits or their work ethic. It was just the market doing them a favor. So be careful when you do get everything. What is your attitude? Again, I go back to the saying of Grant Cardone, play broke. Even when you have everything, you play broke. And mentally, you can push through all kinds of walls. Okay? Here's Setting Your Mind Right, some podcasts. Ed Milet, Max Out podcast. I love that one. He interviews a lot of really great people. Darren Hardy, of course, has a daily on-demand podcast that I love to listen to his Darren Dailies. They're quick hits, like 5-10 minutes, really good stuff. If you haven't heard of the Founders podcast, you should totally listen to the Founders podcast. It doesn't really have much to do with real estate, but it has to do with this guy that basically does book book reviews and applies it to everyday life of people like Rockefellers and all of the very big leaders. It's a very cool podcast. Audiobooks, Atomic Habits for sure, and Fanatical Prospecting. I cannot emphasize it enough that you as a group need to do a book club every week. Start it now and do it on Fanatical Prospecting. Because that book, if you really do it and read it every week with each other and then go execute what he talks about, Jeb Blount talks about, you will have an amazing 90 days. Okay. So I'd highly recommend doing a book club around Fanatical Prospecting. And then bonus, Jesse Itzler, he's married to Sarah from Spanx. And he basically was a rapper back in the 80s and 90s. And he built a private jet company that he sold for $1 billion to Berkshire Hathaway, to Warren Buffett. So he decided to do a commencement speech of his own because he wasn't asked to do one with anybody else. So he did one, and that's the YouTube channel. I'm going to send all of these to Rachel and to Dustin, and so they can share this recording and the slide deck with you guys so that you can do that. And I just want to thank you for having me today.